This is Principles of Management, and this section is Managing Change and Innovation. Organizational change happens when a new idea or behavior is adopted by an organization. The idea that brings about change is not one that has to be truly creative or new to the world at large. It simply has to be something that the organization itself has not done before. Organizational designs need to accommodate the idea that changes will happen over time, so some flexibility needs to be built into the workplace. The term ambidextrous approach means that an organization has structures and processes that are open to creative impulses and to the systematic implementation of innovations. Innovations can be incremental or disruptive. Small changes that make products better or make processes flow more smoothly are referred to as incremental innovations. The manufacture of compasses began several hundred years ago, and these are things that became incrementally more sophisticated over time. At their peak, they would cost between $10,000 and $30,000, but they could be linked to a ship's steering system and guide an ocean-going vessel. Then came global positioning systems, which, for a few $100s, could find the location of a ship to within 3 feet anywhere on the globe. The GPS systems were a disruptive innovation as they displaced an older technology. Organizations employ a myriad of approaches to finding and implementing new ideas. Creative thought can come from an inside person in the organization, from individuals, from new venture teams, from skunkworks, or from other similar forms of pooling interdepartmental resources. Creative thought drives the process. In early management writings, treated the entrepreneur as the inventor of new ideas. But in 1951, Schumpeter described the entrepreneur as the person who gets things done, as opposed to the one who invents. And this is the essence of the difference between invention and innovation. Invention is the new idea. Innovation is taking a new idea and making it into a product or process for getting things done more effectively or more efficiently. The manager is not necessarily the person who's going to be called upon to invent something, but is the person who is to have the ability to recognize the potential of a creative idea. Another management theorist, Davenport, said that the essence of an innovation is in the organizational change it induces, that it is a means of changing an organization either in a response to changes in the external environment or as a preemptive action to influence the environment itself. This conception of innovation places change at the center of the discussion and says that innovation is a systematic and analytical endeavor rather than a reactive enterprise. The concept of where creativity is born has, over time, been influenced by systems thinking. Early writers thought this to be the role of the entrepreneur, but later writers saw a diffused sourcing of ideas, with the manager acting as the person who vets ideas and interprets them. And the environment itself is not an inert agent. Several authors have described the global economy as consisting of a series of technology districts, each with a unique set of human and technological resources. Industrial centers, encouraged and supported by tax policies and structures, can be found, for example, in Hong Kong or Macau, but clusters like these do not exist in isolation. They have to link to complementary clusters around the globe. In short, a firm might choose to locate its research and development functions, or alternately, its processing functions, in a specific geographic region, in part based on the expectation there will be spillover effects from competitors or related industries that could yield product or process innovations. In this transition, the task of innovation is shifted from the shoulders of the administrator to the scientific, technical, and processing staff, who would be the ones to accept more closely what the changes are, and to be involved in the adoption and integration of new ideas into the firm. In recent writings, innovation is no longer seen to be the sole province of the entrepreneur. It is now an organization-wide endeavor. Now, ideas need to be implemented. And the first difficulty encountered here is people. they tend to be resistant to change. There are several good reasons for this. 1. A change may disrupt a personal environment and be against a person's self-interest. 2. The employee may not understand the purpose of the change. 3. They may be unwilling to face the uncertainty that naturally accompanies change. And 4. They may have a legitimate divergent interpretation of the expected results of the change. In 1947, Kurt Lewin proposed a model of unfreezing, changing, and refreezing to depict the process by which people become open to a change, make changes, and then become comfortable with the new set of expected behaviors. People need to understand the reason for a change before they accept that it has to take place, but once they know it will take place, they become open to it. More recent literature has gotten away from the idea that people transition from pattern to pattern. They've come to accept that things will change. They're less reliant on the intricacy and depth implied by corporate cultures and approach their work from a more cognitive perspective. This does, in fact, erode the concept of loyalty and tenure in a position, but it does increase self-reliance and flexibility. As for implementation tactics, the most effective tend to be full and clear communication. Generating a sense of involvement by having people participate in the design of a new idea is helpful, but it tends to be time-consuming. For support, some people respond to the opportunity to negotiate, others do not. For intransient types, the options become coercion or dismissal. The critical element here is top management support. It symbolizes to all employees that change is necessary for the organization, and it gives legitimacy to the projects that spawn and develop it. As we've gone through the sessions on goals, strategy, adaptation, and growth, it should have become increasingly clear that human resources are a critical component in the success of the firm. In the next session, we're going to examine that aspect of the organization more closely. Good night.